She marched down the dock with her clipboard waving like she was a sheriff, shouting at my friends to pack up and leave right now. My guests froze, confused, holding fishing rods and coolers, wondering who this woman even was. She didn't knock, didn't ask, just stormed straight into the middle of the lakefront like she owned it. "This is HOA property," she barked, "and your little party is over." I stepped forward, calm but boiling inside because I'd seen this act before. She pointed at me and snapped, "You tell your friends they're trespassing or I'll call security right now." My buddies looked at me, half laughing, half nervous, waiting for me to say something. I walked closer, stood just a few feet from her, and said slowly, "You're making a mistake, this isn't HOA land." She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and lifted her phone. "Oh, please don't even try that," she hissed, dialing 911 in front of us. "We'll see what the police say about your little gathering." Everyone went silent. She smirked like she'd already won. That's when I leaned in, looked her straight in the eyes, and said the words that made her hand tremble on the phone. "This is my private land, and that lake you're standing on, I own it." Her smirk cracked for the first time. She lowered the phone halfway, blinking like she hadn't heard me right. "What did you just say?" she stammered. My friend stayed quiet, eyes darting between us, waiting for the storm to hit. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't need to. "You're standing on my property. Every inch of the shoreline, every dock, every boat you see out there, it's mine." For a moment, she looked like someone had yanked the ground out from under her feet. Then just as quick, she snapped back, trying to cover her fear with fake authority. "That's impossible," she barked, gripping her clipboard tighter. "The HOA owns this lake, it's in the bylaws, I'll prove it." She started shuffling through papers, her hands shaking. I crossed my arms and let her squirm because I knew the truth she didn't want to face. "Karen," I said calmly, "I bought this land before your HOA even existed. The deed includes the water rights. That means every single resident who uses this lake is technically my guest." My words hit her like a slap. Her face flushed red, but instead of backing down, she doubled down, yelling, "You're lying, you're just trying to intimidate me." She held her phone back up like it was a weapon. "The cops will settle this." That was her mistake, because I was more than ready for real police to arrive, and I had something in my pocket that would turn the whole situation upside down. The sirens echoed down the road faster than I expected, and soon two squad cars rolled up beside the lake. Karen puffed her chest out like she had personally summoned the cavalry. "Officers, over here," she shouted, pointing straight at me and my guests. "These trespassers are refusing to leave HOA property." My friends started gathering their things nervously, but I raised my hand and told them, "Stay calm, don't move." The officers stepped out, one younger and cautious, the other older and clearly tired of nonsense. Karen rushed toward them, shoving her clipboard in their faces. "I'm the HOA chairwoman. These people don't belong here. You need to arrest him for trespassing on private HOA land." The younger cop glanced at me, then back at her. "Ma'am, slow down. Whose property is this exactly?" Karen laughed like the answer was obvious. "It belongs to the HOA. I manage it. This dock, this shoreline, it's all ours." That's when I pulled a folded document from my jacket pocket, the one I always carried in case of moments like this. I handed it straight to the older officer without saying a word. He adjusted his glasses, read the title out loud, and the moment he did, Karen's face drained of color. "Deed of ownership, including full water rights to Lake Ridge." The younger cop raised his eyebrows, suddenly interested. The older officer looked at Karen, unimpressed. "Ma'am, looks like this entire lake belongs to him." Karen's jaw fell open, and for the first time all day she had nothing to say. My guests started chuckling behind me, and I couldn't help but smile. But I wasn't done yet, because I knew she was hiding something and I was about to expose it in front of everyone. Karen's eyes darted back and forth, desperate for a way out. "No, no, that can't be right," she stammered, snatching the clipboard from her chest and flipping through pages like she could magically find proof. "See, right here, HOA Rule 14b clearly states." The older cop cut her off, voice sharp. "Rules don't beat deeds, ma'am. A homeowners association can't own what was never theirs." His tone carried the weight of someone who'd seen too many Karens in his career. My friends burst out laughing, which only made her face turn a deeper shade of red. "Quiet," she shrieked at them, then jabbed a finger toward me. "He's tricking you, he's dangerous. Why else would he carry that paper with him?" I leaned forward just enough for her to feel the sting of my words. "Because I knew one day you'd pull something like this. And funny thing, Karen, you've been collecting lake access fees from the neighborhood for years, haven't you?" Her mouth snapped shut. The younger cop frowned, catching on. "Wait a second, ma'am, have you been charging residents to use a lake you don't own?" Karen's hands trembled. "And no, that's standard HOA practice." The older cop shook his head. "Not when it's someone else's property, that's fraud." The crowd of neighbors who had started gathering by the road gasped and began whispering to each other. Phones came out. People were recording. Karen's power was slipping right through her fingers, and she knew it. I took one step closer and said quietly, just loud enough for everyone to hear, "You didn't just try to kick my guests off this land, you've been stealing from your own neighbors, and now everyone knows it." The neighbors pushed closer, whispering loud enough for Karen to hear every word. "She's been charging us for years," one man muttered. A woman clutched her phone, scrolling through old payment records. $200 a season, she hissed, glaring at Karen. "And you said it was mandatory." The crowd's energy shifted fast. What started as curiosity was now pure anger. Karen tried to wave it off, forcing a laugh that sounded more like a choke. "Oh, don't listen to him, he's twisting things. The fees were for maintenance, landscaping, trash pickup." A voice from the back cut her off. "On land you don't even own." The crowd erupted, people shouting over each other, demanding refunds, calling her a thief. Phones were filming every second, and Karen knew this wasn't just gossip anymore, this was evidence. She turned back to the officers, panicked. "You can't just let him humiliate me like this. Arrest him, arrest someone." Her words cracked in desperation. But the younger cop crossed his arms, shaking his head. "Ma'am, the only one in danger of arrest here is you." The older officer took a slow step toward her. "We'll need to see HOA financial records. If what these people are saying is true, you've got a serious problem." Karen's legs wobbled, her clipboard slipping from her hands and landing in the dirt. The neighbors swarmed closer, some filming her breakdown, others shouting for justice. My friend stood behind me, arms crossed, smiling wide. I didn't even need to raise my voice. I just looked her dead in the eye and said, "You tried to kick us off my own land. Now your whole scheme is about to sink in front of everyone." Karen's breathing turned sharp, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. She bent down, snatched her clipboard off the ground, and suddenly bolted toward the cars. "This isn't over," she shouted, nearly tripping over her own heels. The crowd gasped as she yanked open the trunk of her SUV and pulled out a thick binder stuffed with papers. She held it over her head like it was a holy book. "See, I have every payment record right here. You think you're smart? Well, without the HOA, this community would fall apart." But instead of proving her innocence, she made it worse. A few loose pages slipped free in the wind, fluttering down onto the gravel. Neighbors rushed to grab them. One man lifted a page high and yelled, "This is a personal check to you, Karen, not the HOA." Another woman screamed, "You cashed mine last summer, that's why it didn't show up on the HOA site." The crowd erupted again, louder than before. People surged forward, waving evidence at the cops. The younger officer took the binder from Karen's hands and began flipping through it. His eyebrows shot up. "Half these checks are written to your personal account." Karen's face drained of all color. "No, that's just bookkeeping. I was holding the money for the HOA." The older cop shut the binder with a snap that echoed like a gavel. "No, ma'am, you've been embezzling from your neighbors and you just handed us the proof." The crowd cheered, some people clapping, others shouting fraud and thief. Karen staggered back, shaking her head, whispering no, 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 as if saying it enough times would change the truth. But there was no escape. I stood calm, hands in my pockets, watching her entire empire crumble. And yet, I knew she wasn't finished, someone that entitled always makes one last, desperate play before the end. Karen's final mask cracked. Her voice rose to a scream, desperate and shaky. "You're all ungrateful. Do you know how much I've done for this neighborhood? Without me, this lake would be a swamp, your houses would lose value, your lives would be chaos." She spun toward the cops, jabbing her finger at me. "And he forged that deed. He's scamming all of you." The younger officer frowned, but before he could speak, I calmly pulled my phone from my pocket. With a few taps, I mirrored the screen onto the dock's solar-powered projector I'd installed for outdoor nights. In seconds, a giant image lit up against the boathouse wall, the county registrar's website showing my name in bold letters on the official deed. Date stamped, sealed, and indisputable. The crowd gasped, phones whipped up higher, recording every second. One man shouted, "It's public record, Karen, you can't argue with that." Another neighbor yelled, "We've been paying you thousands while he owned everything. You lied to us for years." Karen's voice cracked into a shrill wail. "Stop recording me, this is harassment, I'll sue all of you." She lunged at a woman holding up her phone, trying to smack it away. That was the breaking point. The older cop immediately stepped forward, grabbing Karen's wrist before she could lash out again. "That's enough. Ma'am, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and attempted assault." The sound of handcuffs snapping around her wrists was met with cheers from the neighbors. My friends whistled and clapped, some shaking my hand, others slapping my back. Karen screamed, thrashing as the officers led her toward the squad car. You'll regret this, you'll all regret this. But for the first time that day, I didn't just feel calm, I felt justice settling in. As the squad car door slammed shut, the cheers from the neighbors echoed across the lake. For years, they'd lived under Karen's rules, her fake authority, her endless threats. Now they watched her being driven away in handcuffs, and the weight that lifted off their shoulders was almost visible. People hugged each other, some laughed, some cried, and all eyes eventually turned toward me. One neighbor stepped forward, voice shaky. We thought the HOA controlled everything. We never knew you owned the lake. I nodded, looking around at the crowd that had gathered. That's because I never wanted to lord it over anyone. This land, this water, it wasn't meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be shared fairly. My friend stood proudly behind me as I raised my voice just enough for everyone to hear. Nobody in this country should be bullied off their own land. Not by an HOA, not by a Karen, not by anyone. The younger cop gave me a respectful nod. You handled yourself well. Most people would have lost their temper. I smiled faintly. I didn't fight for this country just to get pushed off my own property. That line hit hard. Some neighbors clapped, some even wiped their eyes. I looked out over the lake, the water glowing orange under the setting sun. This place belongs to all of us who respect it. From now on, the lake is open, no more fake fees, no more harassment, just freedom. The crowd erupted in cheers, people chanting my name, kids splashing in the shallows without fear of Karen storming in. And as the patrol cars disappeared down the road, Karen's voice finally gone, I felt the quiet peace of knowing the truth had won. My land, my rights, my freedom, secured not just for me but for everyone who stood by me. Because some people think power comes from a clipboard or a title, but real power, it comes from standing your ground and never letting anyone steal what's yours.